This evening, we have the pleasure of bringing Jack Dwiggins to you, who's with Microengineering. He's the operations manager and the owner, along with his father, John Dwiggins. He has a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the Missouri University of Science and Technology. He's an avid modeler, particularly in World War II era Navy ships. He lives in Macon, Missouri, with his younger brother, Reese, and his three dogs, Mouse, Poppy, and Jinx. And with that short introduction, Jack, I will turn it over to you. If you will share your screen, we can begin.
Okay, how does that look?
Looks good. Thank you.
Okay, just a second. Okay, thank you for the introduction, Pete. Like he said, I'm Jack Dwiggins. I'm the operations manager and one of two owners for Microengineering. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what the last couple of years have been like for us, as well as what we're working on right now. Before I forget about it, I need to speak to somebody with the Narrowgauge show. We would like to try to work out something to set up a tour if people would be interested in coming up to Macon to do tours of the new facility, maybe some kind of day trip before or after, but I'll get in touch with somebody after the presentation about that.
I will email in the chat.
Okay, that would work great. So everybody kind of knows the history of microengineering, but I was in preparing for this. I had a couple of dates I wanted to go over as well as a funny story. So Railcraft was the original name of the company. It was founded in 1964 when Bob Rands had a particular problem. He was trying to purchase Code 55 rail and found a manufacturer he could get a hold of would do it in 100 pounds. And 100 pounds of Code 55 rail is like, I want to say the number was over 2,000 or 3,000 running feet, and he didn't need that much. He needed about 1 to 2% of that, so he decided to get into the rail business. Over the last couple, they bought the Wheelworks brand in 1984, and then everything was combined under the Microengineering umbrella in 1986, and we've been that name ever since. That means this year is our 61st year, and I need to get a hard date because we might do something fun for that. A little bit about us. My family, being my dad and I, founded a LLC called Warbonnet Enterprises. We approached Ron to buy Microengineering, Ron Rands, in 2022. We ended up getting it bought by August, and so took over there. From the start, we'd always had the intention to move the company up to Macon, Missouri, which is where my family's from. For those who aren't aware, it's about 2.5 hours northwest of St. Louis. Population of about 6,000 people, but kind of a small rural community that needed some manufacturing jobs. It took us, so we bought it in August of 22. We didn't start moving until the end of September in 2023. And it took us probably 3 or 4 months to get everything moved and unpacked and settled. Here in the picture, I'm the guy on the right. This is my oldest brother, Caleb, in the middle, and my younger brother, Reese. We all three still work in the company daily. And then the dog is Oscar, which was Ron's dog. He was just wanted to be a part of the picture that day. That is a picture of our first check we ever got. So we were pretty excited about that. I think we got that like 4 days in. What we've been up to over the last couple of years, we've been working to catch up on machine repairs as well as the product line. Everybody knows for several years, Microengineering made a very good product, but didn't ever have anything in stock. You always had to wait a very long time for it. And so what we've done over the last 2 years is rebuild all of our existing injection molding equipment and go through tooling repairs that were necessary. Around half of the tooling we purchased needed some kind of repair, more severe than just cleanup. And it just kind of looked like it came from poor maintenance the couple of years before we bought it. The molds have all been reworked with the exception of my 2 concrete molds. Those are being worked on right now, and we'll hopefully be back in the next couple of weeks. Here's a picture of me working on this particular day. We were rebuilding the entire upper hydraulic assembly for this machine, for the clamping on this vertical machine. So one machine had to have its entire hydraulics rebuilt, including multiple new solenoids. Another had to have its electronics rebuilt, including new relays and heating bands and timers and controllers. The biggest hurdle so far is this next machine, which is our horizontal injection machine that we use to make all of our bridge kit parts. This machine is a 90-ton machine, and you can see here where we actually broke it shortly after moving, about 6 months after we moved. If you notice that fractured piece, I don't know if you can kind of see where I'm pointing, but that was fatigue. This is a 60-year-old machine that was made in West Germany. So it's definitely seen its fair share of wear. But we actually just got this replaced not last Friday, the Friday before last. I got a new piece machined by a tool and die shop up here, and this machine is getting close to back in function. It's also had to have a bunch of hydraulic lines and solenoids rebuilt on it as well, just from timing failures and the associated areas like that. Here, to make it clear what part broke, the next picture is of the part that is missing, as well as my dog Mouse in the picture. But you can kind of see these 4 big pieces of superstructure. The one of them is, of course, missing in this picture. But over the last 2 years, we've learned an awful lot about machine repair, machine maintenance. I've really got to use my electrical degree to read old schematics and old hydraulic drawings and do everything we can to maintain the equipment we have, as well as do preventative maintenance that wasn't happening for a very long time. Let me see what I've got next. As of now, so that's been about the last 2 years of catching up on production issues. My job as the operations manager is entirely manufacturing sided. My dad John runs the office and the kind of the front facing side of the company. So this has been a lot of what's been on our plate lately in the back of the shop. Since then, we've been working on rebuilding our product line and stocking up on everything we possibly can. We would like to get to a point where there's at most a week delay in any order. And that comes from turnouts, that comes to track, even the small stuff like spikes and rail joiners. We're working on building up stock and staying on top of our inventory numbers. This is a picture of us at the Springfield, the Amherst show, just a couple weeks ago. My dad on the right, my younger brother Reese in the middle, and me on the left. We've also been rebuilding our website. I don't know if anybody's been on our website in the last couple of years, but it's a pretty rough looking website by modern standards. And we have spent a lot of time rebuilding that to a modern, a modern shopping cart account-based system. We are modeling it very heavily off of what everybody else is doing in our industry, whether that be Walthers or Train World, or even like a normal shopping cart-based system. We did our first round of internal testing on it at the end of January before we went to the Amherst show, and we were pretty happy with the results so far. There's a lot of legwork that needs to be put in between pictures and descriptions and tags that we have to develop yet, but we're hoping that's going to go online about the middle of May. That's at the timeline we're at right now. But we're working really hard to give you guys a website that will let you know when your products are shipping, what you have on a wish list, shipping and tracking information. We'll be posting our inventory there, because I know for a long time there's been these questions about whether or not these products are in stock. We'll be posting inventory numbers there daily. We'd also like to reestablish ourselves at shows. Traditionally, microengineering only went to the narrow gauge show each year, and we'd like to continue doing that. But we're also planning on attending up to about 5 shows a year. We're still working on what we do after the national show, the Amherst show, and the narrow gauge. But I know we're locked in to go to Denver in April for I believe it's the Rocky Mountain Train Show. And we'd just like to get back out and be front facing and answer people's questions and put products in their hands again. As far as new work goes, we've been working on a few new turnout designs, as well as a lot of the money we've been generating has been going into rebuilding tooling to bring it up to, to fix maintenance problems we were having before we took over. Currently, we are expecting to have a number 6 HO crossover and a number 6 in-scale crossover ready for the Amherst show next year. I actually have a prototype. There's one of the prototypes there. I've got another one here. We have our parts ready. We're ready to go on these. We're just dealing with packaging issues. As you can imagine, this giant turnout is kind of hard to hang on a wall. It's kind of hard to set in a box. It just takes up a lot of space. So we're working on different packaging solutions. But yeah, we're working on using some of the work done before we bought the company to kind of give us something to start on. We've also been developing an HO number 8 turnout. Right now, we're about 65% of the way done with this product. On the right picture here, you can see we're going to have to shoot this turnout in 2 shots. It's large enough for our machines that it can't be shot in one. On the right side of this, you see the lower mold, the lower, I guess lower, it'd be the bottom mold, and it's the lower of the 2 halves for the right-hand turnout. On the left picture there is our carbon blank for the, it would be for the lower mold on the right-hand turnout. And if you're not familiar with how tool and die work is done nowadays, we create these carbon blanks, and then they use a process called EDM, where you suspend this in an oil solution above the steel and electrify it, and the process etches away metal to give us our wood grain that we need. Like I said, we're about 65% of the way done with the tool and die work on this. And once we're there, we can start talking about packaging. We're looking to get this out to market in the summer of 26. Finally, other than that, we're just really focusing hard on getting everything back in stock so that we don't have the availability issues this company has faced in the past. We know we make a good product that everybody likes to support. We just haven't done a good job about keeping things in stock. And we have appreciated the patience the community has shown for us over the last couple of years. We were, well, I'm continuously surprised by the amount of goodwill we receive and the patience we get from everybody. Even 2 years after buying the company, everybody is continually thanking us for the work we're doing and continuously patient, even though there's a lot of days I feel like we should be caught up by now, but we're getting really close. Lately, we have our HO, for the first time in 4.5 years, our HO 83 line is all in stock. Track turnouts, ladder track turnouts, supporting products. And I'm hoping to do the same thing with my HO Code 70 line by about the middle of April. We're starting in on those turnouts in the middle of March. So about a month and I'll start having everything back in stock. So we're working right now to fulfill back orders for our HO 83 line. And then from there, we're going to spend time just catching up on everything else. Like I said, we'd like to get to a point when you place an order, you've got at most a week delay before it ships. And that's on everything, track and turnouts, supporting products. Finally, here is my contact information. We're pretty big about answering our emails. That's my cell phone number. If anybody has questions, our office phone has been very inconsistent lately, but I'm more than happy to answer cell phone calls any time of the day. That's also my email address there. We answer emails daily. We'd like to put it out there that we're back and busy, and I know there's rumors going around for a while that the company kind of fell through and nobody knew what was going on with it, but we're back and producing, and we'd like to let everybody know that. So if you've got any friends who have questions about us, please spread the word that we're back out and producing again. And again, that's my contact information if anybody ever needs to get a hold of us. Do we have any questions?
Hey, excellent rundown, Jack. This excellent rundown. I see where Chuck Proudfoot has added his email to the chat box, so you can check that later. Doug Junda says, I know the feeling, have done a lot of that, and I expect he's referring to your repair work with the injection molding machinery.
It's been a very fun learning experience, but it's been difficult working with older equipment. So
yeah. And Mark Lachey says, will you ever bring back the micro spikes?
Yes. So the micro spikes kind of have a funny story behind them. Micro spikes have always been produced by Micro Engineering in-house. They're a furniture staple originally that we purchased from a St. Louis company. During COVID, that company went out of business. They were kind of a smaller line. I think it was 25 employees or so. I forget the name of the company off the top of my head. But since then, we have been trying to find a new staple that will do all the same characteristics. So it's the right size. The issue we're running into lately is if you get a staple with a combination of it's big enough it doesn't bend, we can develop the twist in it we need, as well as it has the right head on it so that it doesn't split ties. I've tried I'm at like between a dozen and 1.5 dozen, so almost 20 different staple brands at this point. That is a summertime project for us. As you guys know, the hobby is busiest in the winter, and summertime's when I get to catch up on stuff like that, or we go and do our major machine rebuilds. So hopefully this summer I'll have some good news about getting the microspike line back in stock. I know right now we have like 500,000 on back order. So we would really like to get those back out and get those to everybody, because I know they're a product that has so many like interesting applications for a variety of scales. But yeah, that's the story on that. Hopefully we'll have good news by like end of July.
Okay, great. Robin Peel says, glad to hear the website is upgraded. And it was a terrible website over the years. Uh, Randy Scott,
It's rough.
yeah. Randy Scott says, when you mention the 90-pound injection molding machine, to what does the 90-pound refer to?
Okay, so when you're talking about injection molding machines, you scale them based off of the clamping force. So our vertical machines that we make turnouts and track in are 30 tons, meaning there's 30 tons of mechanical force clamping down. As your parts get bigger, it stands to reason that the amount of force required to keep the mold closed will also increase with surface area. And so, like a turnout, for example, like our number 8 turnout was going to take approximately 50. I looked at the notes the other day. It's somewhere between like 48 and 52 tons of force to inject it in one shot, which is why we decided about a year ago to split it into 2 molds and shoot it in 2 shots. A 90-ton machine is thus quite a bit bigger. Typically, horizontal machines tend to be quite a bit larger. Vertical applications don't really call for it. We're working with a company called Arberg to purchase a new machine that's arriving sometime this summer. That is a 78-ton machine. It's really neat, actually. It's a 4-position machine, so we can shoot vertically and horizontally. Meaning, hopefully, I can replace my Battenfeld, or I can put this side by side with my 90-ton horizontal machine we were just talking about. But yeah, that's when you're talking injection molding, they refer to it as tonnage, and that's what that refers to.
Thanks.
Okay, great. Jim Curran says, great to see that you're doing what you're doing. Any chance you might eventually have some dual gauge turnouts since Shinohara exited the business and you will make all the dual gauge flex?
We're currently looking for what the next big product is going to be for us after we're done with our number 8 HO. That has been one that's been thrown around. We've also thrown around the idea of doing an in-scale ladder track line. The dual gauge turnout would be particularly interesting for us because we already support so much of the dual gauge track lines. And like they said, Shinohara is out of the business now. It's complicated. It's a very busy turnout, but I think it's a challenge we would be up for. We don't have anything to announce yet, but we have been considering a dual gauge turnout because they said, the markets, the Shinohara is no longer producing them. So it's kind of a dead spot in the market.
Okay, Jim has a follow-up question. He said, one other question, is the Wheelworks line close to coming back?
Yes. Okay. So we're actually working on when we bought Microengineering, we decided to prioritize the parts of the market that we had the most on back order. So of course our HO line is getting filled up first. Our in-scale line is shortly behind it. Narrow gauge will probably be behind that. That meant we had to take time off of things like microspikes or the Wheelworks line. We are working on replacing, like the story with our steel molds that we use for injection molding, the spin metal tooling that we use for the Wheelworks line is also incredibly worn. We've been working to replace those. The problem is it's a process that's kind of hot and smelly, and we don't really do it when we have staff here, so it's a Saturday project for us. But we're slowly working through rebuilding those. We would like to have those back in stock sometime by the middle of spring, so probably April, May. We're working on replacing all of our rubber molds, and it really just means taking time out of the week where there's not staff here to do it, because it's hot, it's loud. The hydraulic press is loud for our vulcanizer. We'd just rather not do it with the staff here. But we are still moving forward with it. The nice thing about that is once you make a batch of those parts, it lasts a while. And the tooling lasts a while relative to the number of parts we run. So yes, we are still working on it. It's just a little ways down the road.
Got it. What's the status of the code rail? Mike asks that question. Code 100, excuse me.
I just got a quote. So we purchase our rail in large batches. We put our order in around the middle of January. We just got our delivery date. It looks like about the middle of July is when it's coming.
Okay.
So by then we'll have code 100 rail back in stock and can ship out anybody who's waiting on us for specifically the rail. We'll start stocking our track back up then too. But typically we have about 25-week lead times. So middle of July is not unreasonable for the time scales we're talking about.
Okay.
Typically, we put an order in January and it arrives about June, July. We put an order in July and it arrives around December. So.
Okay. Mike also asks, is there an update on the purchase of Tamalco? And I assume he's referring to you purchased the Tamalco S standard gauge line.
Okay, yes, we haven't put anything out formally about it. We have a handshake deal and a check in the mail. I think the paperwork still needs signed yet, but we have purchased the S gauge Tamalco line. We are working currently. We kind of have our hands tied in that we don't have 100 rail. We're out of code 100 or very low on it, so I don't have a whole lot. But as soon as I do, we're going to be running and filling up orders on that. We're also working with Shane to take any outstanding orders and communicate with these people that there's going to be some time between orders. But once we have it, we're going to be keeping this product in stock. It's not something with our custom work relationships. Of course, they're going to put an order in with us. We're going to produce it within about 4 to 6 weeks of the time they put an order in with us, and they hold on to that and manage that inventory of products. We don't really worry about how much of it they have in stock until they tell us they need more. Now that that's underneath the microengineering banner, that'll be a product line that's kept in stock year round. And on that topic, I forgot to mention it. I've had a bullet in one version of my PowerPoint, but I forgot it. We're also working on new boxes for all of our track. We understand there's been complaints over the years for the tape as a way to store our track. We're working on a 25 count box and a 5 count box both. The 25 count box is pretty close to done. We're getting our first round of final samples. So before we sign off on an order, we get this last round of samples, and that's the kind of stuff we would design our label and branding for. The 5 count's probably more like summertime, but we would like to. That's going to be eventually developed for all of our track lines. Okay, thank you guys for your time. You have a good evening.
Thank you.